course, raise the question, is it too little, too late? Is it too late? Full stop. It's very big on rhetoric, I've read it several times, but it's very small on both the scale and its local actions. I picked up a tweet link today, read away all week, that says, Koalas adopts the Koalas saving blueprint. It's not a Koalas saving blueprint, it's a koala plan of management. Whether or not it saves koalas is yet to be determined. That's only going to happen as a result of long-term monitoring program. And so don't be deluded by what you read. Don't be deluded by the media hype. This koala plan of management has a lot in common with other koala plans of management. It's certainly nowhere near as assertive as what it needs to be if it's going to affect a recovery action. So there's a little bit of arrogance there on the part of the media hype. Please consider it scrutiny, be sceptical. What we have in actual fact is a pretty safe plan. I know there's been a lot of liaison with the Department of Environment and Planning, and I think the intent is to get a fairly safe plan through the department, because they've still got to finally approve the plan of management the council has adopted. So it's not over yet, and what we're possibly going to get is a fairly safe plan, but we really need something that's pretty assertive. We're going to turn the decline around. As the population gets smaller and smaller, the recovery task and the actions required of it get harder and harder and harder. And the cost of recovery gets more and more and more. It's a well-established phenomenon throughout the world. It's an economic reality. Many of us who have long histories with climate conservation know that we should have acted a decade ago with some of these populations, and the Tweed Coast is one of those. Solutions. What are we dealing with? We're dealing with issues of fire, we're dealing with issues of unsustainable mortalities due to motor vehicle strikes and domestic dog attacks. Don't be deceived, again, by what you read in the media. Science is very strong on this. Science don't work. We can't even get people to slow down at school crossings for our kids, let alone stop for a sign which says, please slow down at Koalas. It's very bright, it's very flashy, but it doesn't work. I remember reading about it probably in either the Eco event or the Tweed Garden, thinking, oh, okay. New Year's Day, I had the first animal was killed on the road. Happy New Year, I said to myself. There's been another animal killed since then, and possibly others that we don't even know about. As far as we can ascertain, probably about 50% of all road kills actually get reported. So what we're seeing, what we've been able to document, is probably just a little surface reflection of what's really going on. So the roadkill is ongoing, it is unsustainable, and it's happening as we sit in this room. Science certainly won't stop it. There's some good technology out there now which is making us think outside the ballpark about how we can better engage in terms of trying to minimise impacts of road strike on koalas, but we have nothing at this particular point in time to put forward the community to say, yes, we're actively engaging in that process. I guess this is where we'll focus, and this directly affects the community here. So in 2010, we had about 35 koalas in that Pottsville Wetlands Black Rocks population cell. In December 2014, Christmas Day, I think it was, a very significant fire event impacted that population cell, and as a couple of speakers have already confirmed, the likely cause of that was arson. Now, it's very easy for us to sit here and think, yeah, we've got a fire. But the costs of that and the costs of high fire frequencies and intense fires, particularly on the eastern seaboard of Australia, the impacts of this on biodiversity are increasingly being recognised as unsustainable and huge. For koalas, it's particularly catastrophic. They don't just jump out of their trees and run along the ground and try and find refuge. They usually sit in their trees, they jump out of their trees, they get burnt alive, or they get injured to such an extent that they ultimately die. And those of you in this room who are involved with wildlife caring, might feel empathy for some of the things that you need to deal with from time to time. Most of us never see. So we get animals who are killed directly as a result of the fire event itself. That happens on the day. What follows after that are other mortalities that are indirectly attributable to the fire. So these are animals that get burn injuries, who can't climb the base of trees, they have respiratory trauma because they've inhaled lots of smoke, burnt their respiratory tracts, they lose their food resource, they get increased levels of stress, and they tend to manifest stress-related disease symptoms like chlamydiosis. And for those that are lucky enough to survive the or the post-fire events, then as they disperse from that landscape into adjoining areas of habitat, they can be picked up by domestic dogs, they can be run over by cars, they can have another serious event in their lives. So we're not talking about anything that's necessarily a minor task here, particularly in a landscape such as the Tweed Coast, where the population is so small, the landscape is so fragmented, and we don't have the numbers to play these sorts of games. These next photos aren't particularly attractive, but you need to know what happens. You need to see some of this stuff. You know, people deal with this. They repair the damage, try and get these animals back in the bush and on their feet. There's some really good medicinal approaches to this, but invariably these are very chronic trauma events. A lot of animals die. So if we take our original population of black rocks now, and we say, on the basis of what we know about the impacts of wildfire, we reckon we've probably lost somewhere between 30 and 60% of that breeding population in that one event. That's half of it, almost half. Now we know there's animals around the edges, right? That's great. But we've probably lost half of that population itself in that one event. If we have another event in the next 10 years, that'll be half of whatever has survived this one. Then start to see what happens when you have a chronic fire history imposed upon the landscape. Out of the ashes, what happens? So the Black Rocks sports field has become a really interesting issue here locally. As a planning element in the landscape, everything's wrong with that sports field. It's a gap in an otherwise sort of vegetated landscape. It has a long, winding road to it, it is isolated, it is not effectively integrated into a developed landscape. So in the ecological first principle planning process, it's actually in the wrong place, but I don't necessarily want to go there. It's about 4 hectares in size, it's about a 320 metre length of road leading into it, and it's got an edge, which is what I wanted to talk about. It's got an edge when we start up on the right hand side of the road, drive up the road, then go around the edge of the playing field and back out the other side. It's got an edge of 1.5 kilometres as an internal gap in the forest ecosystem. That is a gap, and it is an edge that can be worked by dogs. It can be accessed by any number of other variables that impact on and disturb wildlife populations. There's many photographs that David and Nina put up. Those animals are very close to the edge of that playing field quite often, and anyone who's into sort of the ecological principles will be aware of things like the edge to area ratio and be very mindful that's 1,500 metres of exposed habitat that is available to traumatic events for koalas. So, given the fire event, we know that it stopped just to the north of Koalas Road. The Black Rock Sports Field and its surrounding habitat areas are now the last remaining stronghold for this population itself. We think we've probably already lost at least half of it, and so we haven't got very many to play with. So remember when I talked about 7.5 koalas we have to share around? So it's likely that any one year, 2 and a bit more joeys may ultimately come out of that cell, if we're lucky. So it's that cell from where recolonisation of the existing habitat areas, once they regenerate, is going to occur. And one of the things that sort of saddens me, I guess, and others, is that I've watched over the last sort of 6 months to a year this issue of Black Rock sports fields, access to the sports fields, men's sheds, koala habitat, become a really divisive community issue. I think that's one of the reasons we're all here today. Some people who know me would know that one of my favourite sayings is that when debate becomes polarised, it's the focus that invariably suffers. And so while we all go about our respective agendas about koala habitats, men's sheds, sports field, access. We're losing sight of what's actually important, and that's a population that really needs our help. So what do you do? What do we do about the sports fields? I reading a letter in the paper last night which says we could fence the entire sports field and we could fence the access road. That'd probably cost around 100, 150k, depending on what sort of fence you want to put in there. It's not without its problems. It would obviously seriously fragment and disrupt the movement corridor along the eastern edge of the habitat block. It's a very difficult thing to overcome. We can do what we're doing now and make it into a political football. We kick it around the place from local government politicians to state government politicians at a community level, and really nothing happens. No one really scores any goal. We just end up alienating a lot of people who really should be a friend and dividing a community which really needs to be moving in a united fashion. We could rip it up. We could rehabilitate the whole lot of it. That would probably be a little bit cheaper. It also has its problems. It's sort of a reclaimed area, consolidated sediments, difficult to get trees to grow in there. So everything has its problems. I'm just alluding to the fact that I recognise and I respect all of those issues. But again, this is the polarisation of the argument, and certainly from where I'm standing, we're losing sight of what's important. What are we going to do? Current management situation, this gate being left open all the time, it's really poorly informed, it's ecologically irresponsible, and it's just bloody dangerous. We did a long-term monitoring program down in this area where we used a combination of wildlife fencing, grids, a whole range of things to stop koalas from getting into an exclusion area. For 6 years, not one animal got into that fenced area.